everybody, and welcome to another video. As you can see in the background, I'm drawing Sun and Moon and also Chi-Chi, who is a little character I came up with, being basically younger me, but kind of different because she's in a Pizzaplex, obviously. So I'm going to be reading the first two chapters of my Sun and Moon show, Fanfiction, called The Sun and Moon Show with Sky. She starts out as Sky, and then she transports back to her younger self while also being in the Pizzaplex. So anyway, let's get started. Chapter 1, Sun and Moon. Sky flopped down in his bed with a sigh and snuggled under the nice warm covers. That sure was a day, but now I can sleep. Sky closed his eyes and suddenly, jolting upward, he gasped and fought. Something was surrounding him on all sides. Around him were smooth, round plastic balls. He floundered in the plastic balls, gasping for air. He fought his way to the surface and panted, clawing the air. He looked around, still swimming in the plastic balls. He spotted land and swam toward it. He clawed his way onto land and flopped down, gasping for breath, closing his eyes with relief. Having fun in the ball pit, little sunspot? A cheery voice said above Sky. My voice cracked. Having fun in the ball pit, little sunspot? A cheery voice said above Sky. Sky opened his eyes and yelped, flinching backwards. Oops, sorry, little one. I didn't mean to scare you. The voice belonged to an animatronic with a head shaped like a sun, dressed in a red and yellow jester outfit. His pants had stripes of light red and gold with red ribbons hanging off his wrists, with bells on them, and the same on the heels without the bells. He had a red tutu around his waist, with gold running through it, and a sort of ruffle collar of the same color. His main body, however, was a light yellowy beige with buttons on the chest. Sun? Sky thought, confused. Sun chuckled good-naturedly. Wait, where am I? Sky suddenly gasped, looking around wildly. He felt smaller, and his voice was so much squeakier. He looked down, yelping. What's wrong, Sunlight? The sun animatronic asked worriedly. I don't know where I am. Sky suddenly cried. Strangely, he felt scared and vulnerable. He suddenly started to breathe heavily. Hey, it's okay. The jester put out his hands in front of him innocently. Here, can I touch you? Sky shook his head frantically and flinched away, gasping. Okay. Hey, how about this? Sun knelt down to be eye level with Sky. Can you name 5 things you can see around the daycare? He asked softly. Sky looked around. Jungle Gym? Sky tried to think, but his mind was foggy. He felt like he couldn't breathe. What else, little Ray? Ladder? Sky whimpered out. Plushies? Sky felt tears trickle down his face. Yep, 2 more. Kids? Sky tried to wipe away the tears, but they kept streaming down. 1 more. Ball, pit. Sky started to whimper, and all he could hear was his heart pounding in his ears. Okay, 4 things you can feel. Sky strained his senses. Foam mat? Clothes? Sky started to tug at his shirt. So constricting. Good. Air conditioning? The air felt stiflingly hot. Good. The wood from the bridge? Sky reached out to touch the bridge over the ball pit. Good girl. Now, 3 things you can hear. Sky was suddenly very aware of all the noise. He cringed and covered his ears. Kids laughing? People talking. It hurts. Sky whimpered, covering his ears. I know. Here, how about this? Sky suddenly felt himself be picked up, and he almost resisted, but suddenly the sounds got a lot dimmer. There, is that better? Sky opened his eyes and saw they were in a little tent. Mooney always did insist on a quiet corner, the jester said fondly. Sky sighed. The quiet swishing of the tent? Good, now 2 things you can smell. Sky sniffed the air. His senses weren't as good in his human form compared to his Neko and cat form, but he could still smell things. some kind of food? And he sniffed. Something sweet. The sun jester smiled and handed Sky a candy. One thing you can taste. Sky took the candy suspiciously, but he did feel a lot calmer, so he decided to eat the candy. He popped it in his mouth and sucked it. Tasted like cotton candy. Cotton candy? Sky said, sucking on the candy drop. Suddenly, Sky felt sleepy. He yawned, lying down in the sun jester's lap, and closed his eyes. It must have been a few hours that passed, because by the time Sky woke up, it was dark, and there was a blanket over him. He sat up and looked around. Suddenly a shadow fell over him. What's a starlight like you doing here? It's past your bedtime. Sky looked up and saw a jester like the sun one, but this one had the head of a moon, and instead of red and yellow outfit, this jester wore a blue and purple outfit with blue pants with stars on them, and the same ribbons, tutu, and ruffle color, but this time in a light purple color with silver running through them. Hello? Sky whimpered, ducking under the blanket. Oh, little star. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. I'm just wondering where your parents are. Sky suddenly realized he couldn't just straight out say they were in a different dimension. They're not here. Well, obviously, the moon jester said with a little shake of his head. Such careless people. They're not careless, Sky stopped. Actually, her parents were, in fact, very careless. Okay, maybe they are. The moon sighed. Guess I'll have to look after you until they come back. I can look after myself. I'm an adult. Sky felt very insulted. Oh, an adult, are you? The moon jester smirked. Sky puffed his chest out. Yes, I am. The moon jester carefully picked Sky up. Oh, yes, how very grown up you are, the jester teased. Okay, I get it. I'm short. Kid, you're like 4, maybe 5? Sky stopped and suddenly realized he was in his younger self's body. Oh, Sky said, a little dumbfounded. Come on, let's get you something to eat. The moon jester gently adjusted his grip on Sky and suddenly swung into the air out of the daycare. Well, we're so high up, Sky yelped, suddenly terrified of the fall. You're okay, I've got you, the moon said gently. They swung into a kitchen-like place, and the jester landed on the ground and gently let Sky down. Now let's see. No, not pizza. There's too much of that here. The moon jester hummed, looking through the fridge. Oh, here we are. The jester held up a chicken sandwich. Here you go, kiddo. Oh, thanks, Sky said. He nibbled on the sandwich, resisting the urge to gag on the tomatoes, but eventually gave up and just ate the chicken patty. Ah, not a fan of tomato? Sky shook his head, still chewing on the patty. Ah, well, the jester patted Sky on the head. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Moondrop. Hi, Moondrop. I'm Chi-Chi, Sky said, and realized he said her younger self's name. Well, looks like she was sticking with that. Hello, Chi-Chi. What a cute name. Yeah, I suppose. Chi-Chi finished the patty. Was that enough? Moondrop asked. Yes, that was plenty, thank you. Good. Let's see about getting you some better clothes. Moon nodded. Those don't look very comfortable. Chi-Chi looked down and saw Moon was right. The clothes were way too big. I must have shrunk in the night, Chi-Chi thought. Moon swung Chi-Chi up to the tower and above the ball pit. It landed in a pretty dirty-looking room with stuff strewn all over the place. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess. I was looking for blankets and Sunny was asleep. Sunny? Chi-Chi tilted her head. My brother, the one you met before. Chi-Chi's mind suddenly went back to the earlier in the day with the red and yellow jester. Oh, Sunny, the cheerful one. Yep, that's one way to describe him. Now let's see here. Moon looked through a box of clothes. This might fit you. Moon handed Chi-Chi a dress with a kitty on it. Oh, it's a kitty. Yeah, Sunny really likes cats. But We're not exactly feminine animatronics, so it's all yours, kid. Thank you. Gigi excitedly ran into the bathroom and changed into the dress. It fit so perfectly. Now, she didn't usually like dresses, but this one's fabric was so soft. I feel so cozy, Gigi giggled. It looks good on you, Moon complimented. Thank you. Now what? Now we look for your parents. Aw, but I want to play, Gigi said, surprising herself. Maybe her kitty instincts were taking effect. You can play while I talk to the staff bots, Moon said. He swung Chi-Chi down and put her on the soft foam mat and gave her a couple plushies to play with. Ooh, it's a plushie of you and Sun, Chi-Chi giggled and hugged them. And a bear, and I think that's an alligator, and a chicken, and a wolf? Good job, you know your animals, Moon chuckled. Chi-Chi looked over and saw another plushie apart from the others. And they're all best friends with the bunny, and they play and have parties. Moon looked over. His gaze was distant. He waved over to a Mopbot and started talking to him, but came back a little downtrodden. And Mr. Moon is the bestest friends with Mr. Sunnyman, and they never argue, ever, never, and they all play with the other animals even though they're different. Moon smiled and looked out the glass part of the daycare. It's almost daytime, Moon said distantly. It's time for Mr. Sunnyman to come out. He looked down at his hands. Come out? Chi-Chi looked around. Where is Mr. Sunny? You'll see. As the rays of light crossed the daycare, Moon twitched, and suddenly Chi-Chi heard spinning gears, and the moon part sprouted rays, and a claw arm took the hat off Mooney's head. His blue star parachute pants flipped up and got replaced with red and yellow pants. And the lights on his eyes turned off as they rotated to show white instead of blue. Mr. Sunman looked around, looking a little dazed. Then suddenly, he caught sight of Chi-Chi. Oh, Sunspot! He smiled and lifted Chi-Chi into the air and spun her around. Whee! Chi-Chi giggled and waved her arms in the air. What are you doing here so late, little Ray? Sun asked, looking over Chi-Chi. My parents aren't here, Chi-Chi said, sticking with the lie. Oh my, well let's see here. Oh! Sun looked down and picked up the Moon plushie. Did Moony get you all dressed in this adorable outfit? Yep, Chi-Chi giggled. Aw, how wonderful, Sun smiled. Have you had breakfast? I had a chicken patty, Chi-Chi said, messing with the bells on Sun's wrist. She liked the way they jingled. That's all? Sun grunted. Oh my. Moony, you're not very good at feeding the kids. Sunnyman sounded like he was talking to himself. Yes, I know we shouldn't give her pizza, but that's no reason to just get her a chicken patty. Chi-Chi tilted her head and smiled. Let's see about getting you some breakfast. Proper breakfast, Sun said, and adjusted Chi-Chi gently. Instead of swinging above the daycare, they just walked over to a little kitchen set up in one corner of the daycare, and Sun put her in one of the colorful chairs at a small table. Now, what do you like? Oatmeal? Cereal? Pancakes? Chi-Chi tried to weigh how hungry she was, and decided she wasn't very hungry at all. I'm not hungry, Chi-Chi said, waving her politely. Are you sure? Not even a bowl of fruit? Sun asked. No, thank you, Chi-Chi said, and looked around, finally taking in the daycare. The ceiling was high above them, probably so Moony could swing around on the wires. And there were 2 jungle gyms, one bigger than the other, with wires all over them. They had the faces of the animals that the plushies did. A bear, a fox, or maybe it was a wolf, an alligator, and a chicken. In the front was a big desk with a screen over it, flashing an ad of something called an Energizer candy, lemon flavored, it said. A pair of huge faux doors were next to it. Then, on the other wall, facing the back, was a tower with the ball pit below it, and a few castle turrets to hide in. This place is huge, Chi-Chi said, looking around amazed. And this is just the daycare, Sun said, smiling. Just the daycare? Wow, what's outside it? You've been through there. There's not a way to get into the daycare without having gone through the entrance. Sun looked a little confused. All I remember is waking up in the ball pit, Chi-Chi said, trying to think. The ball pit? Sun looked toward the ball pit. Yeah, that's strange. Maybe you hit your head? Sun gently felt Chi-Chi's head to check for any bumps. I don't know. Chi-Chi suddenly pouted and crossed her arms. That's all I remember. Okay, Sun said, patting Chi-Chi's head. Hey, by the way, what's your name? It's, Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi said, trying to think. She thought it was Chi-Chi. It's the only name she remembered anyway. It was all so confusing and stupid. Why did she have to forget things when she was perfectly capable of remembering other things? Chi-Chi is a nice name. I'm Sunrise, Sun said, sitting crisscross in front of Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi uncrossed her arms and reached out, touching Sunnyman's rays. They wiggled, and she giggled. Oh, is that fun now? Sun smirked and ruffled Chi-Chi's long brown hair. Chi-Chi reached up and took Sun's arm in her little hands and started to absentmindedly play with his fingers. She noticed he had soft pads on his fingers and palm, like kitty paw pads. It was so cute. Now, what do we do with you? Sun thought, smiling as Chi-Chi played with his fingers. I suppose if you want, you can play with the other kiddos when they get here. Chi-Chi suddenly looked frightened. No, I don't want it. They're too loud, Chi-Chi whimpered. Okay, Sun thought. I suppose you can stay in the tower for the day, see if your parents come by. Chi-Chi thought about that. She didn't like her parents very much. But this Sunny man was much better. But she knew that they'd probably get worried. Okay, Chi-Chi said reluctantly. Sun smiled and scooped her up and took her to the tower. As soon as they entered, he got all frantic and scrambled, cleaning the room. Chi-Chi thought it was very funny. Alright, I've set up a little sleeping bag if you get tired, and there are plenty of plushies and pillows to snuggle up to, Sun said, patting Chi-Chi's head. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sunnyman. Chi-Chi snuggled under the covers and hugged onto the Sun and Moon plushies. Alright, now you stay here until the daycare closes, Sun said, giving Chi-Chi one more head pat before heading downstairs to the daycare. Chi-Chi tried to sleep, she really did, but it suddenly got very loud when the kids came in. Even when she buried her head into the pillow, it didn't keep out the noise. She sat up and nervously played with the Sun doll. Don't worry, Chi-Chi, she made the Sun plushie say. You're safe up here. Chi-Chi sighed and closed her eyes, pressing her head against the pillow, trying to block out the noise. It was gonna be a long day. Chapter 2, The Virus. Sun and Moon didn't know what to do really with Chi-Chi. If they were honest with themselves, they loved having a forever friend around, even if it was against the rules. Moon told Sun they would have to give her up to the authorities, but Sun refused, saying Chi-Chi was safe here for now. Many days and nights passed. Chi-Chi got comfortable with the brothers, and though she didn't really like staying in the tower until nighttime, Sun would come up and check on her and give her lunch or snacks. And once he said they were having a birthday party at the daycare, and Chi-Chi got to have a slice of cake. That was a very good day. Chi-Chi would play with her plushies, try to ignore the sound outside, occasionally peek over the edge to see what Sunny Man was up to when Moony would come out for nap time. Chi-Chi would say she was pretty happy, not really caring if she wasn't home. If she was honest with herself, she felt a lot safer in the daycare than at home anyway. She didn't really know how to get home anyway. In fact, she didn't even know where home was. Chi-Chi sat up and groaned. I know Sun says I'm safe up here, but boy does it get boring. Chi-Chi stood up. There had been a lull in noise. Maybe the kids were taking their nap. She walked over to the edge of the stage and peeked over, curiously tilting her head. She didn't hear anything, and the lights were out. Moony, Chi-Chi whispered into the dark. Moony, are you there? Silence. Chi-Chi whimpered. It was eerily quiet. Moony? Sunny? Anybody? Chi-Chi cried. She shrunk back as cruel laughter filled the air, and crawled under the blanket and curled into a ball, shaking in fear. Naughty children must be punished. A dark voice came from the darkness. It sounded kind of like Moony, but darker. Chi-Chi scrunched her eyes shut as a scraping scraping sound came from the dark. Naughty children must be found, the voice purred. Go away, no naughty children here, Chi-Chi thought. It was so dark behind Chi-Chi's eyelids, but suddenly a light came through, a red, piercing light full of malicious intent. Naughty children must be punished, the voice growled right above Chi-Chi. No, 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 don't find me, Chi-Chi thought desperately. Naughty children, the voice purred, and suddenly the daycare light flashed on and a scream was heard, a scream of pain and fury. Chi-Chi cringed and buried her head in the pillow, trying to block out the awful noise. Suddenly the familiar sound of Sun's gasp sounded through the blanket. Moony, no, stop it, Sun cried and whimpered in pain. A thud. Moondrop, stop, Sun pleaded. Chi-Chi started to cry, tiny sobs getting through the blanket. Oh, Chi-Chi. Suddenly the blanket was lifted off Chi-Chi and she screamed as light seared her retinas. Shh, it's me, it's okay, Sun said, picking up Chi-Chi and putting her in his lap. Let me go, Chi-Chi screamed. She scrambled out of Sun's grip and scrambled backwards. Suddenly she felt open air. She screamed as she fell, squeezing her eyes shut tight. Chi-Chi! Sun yelled. Suddenly Chi-Chi was jolted to a stop in midair. She dared open her eyes and started to cry as she saw the dizzying drop suddenly yawning below her. Shh. Hey, it's okay. Suddenly something scooped her up and landed lightly in the ball pit. Chi-Chi sobbed as Sun let her down on the soft foam on one of the islands. Hey, it's okay, it's me. It's Sunnyman. Sun gently touched Chi-Chi's head. Chi-Chi yelled and scrambled back, tears streaming down her face. It was hard to see. She blinked and whimpered, rubbing at her eyes, shaking awfully. Oh, Chi-Chi, I'm sorry I scared you. Sun sighed and sat down on the mat. Chi-Chi looked at Sun, eyes wide, tears still trickling down her face. Her eyes stung from all the tears in them. Moony was pretty scary, huh? Sun asked, sighing. Chi-Chi nodded and brought her knees to her chest. Sun looked around, then spotted an abandoned moon plush, smiled, picking it up and holding it out for Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi stared at it and turned away, putting her face in her arms. Sun sighed. Come on, Sunspot. Let's get you back up to the tower. Chi-Chi shook her head and scrambled backwards into one of the turrets. Chi-Chi, come on. It's okay. Moony won't hurt you. Chi-Chi whimpered and burrowed her head into her arms. Chi-Chi, please. I have to go talk to a security guard. You can't stay out here alone, Sun pleaded. Chi-Chi ignored him. Sun sighed. Just stay here until I get back, okay? Sun stood up and headed out of the daycare. Chi-Chi started to sob, her little body shaking. Why was Moony so scary? He had said Chi-Chi was a naughty child that must be punished. Was it because she had gotten impatient? She had called out to Moony because she was bored, but if so, she never ever disobeyed Moony. Ever, never again. Chi-Chi stayed in that turret until Sun came back, too scared to move in case Moony came back and tried to punish her again. Good, Sunspot, Sun said and patted Chi-Chi's head. You stayed exactly where I told you to. Chi-Chi nodded. She didn't want Moony to come back and think she was a naughty child that must be punished. She obediently followed Sun back to the tower, not wanting to be picked up. Sun sighed and sat down against the wall, burying his face in his hands. Sunny? Chi-Chi asked meekly. Sun looked up. He looked tired. If animatronics could get tired, that is. Yes, Sunlight, he asked, his voice hollow. Did I do something bad? Chi-Chi whimpered. Oh, no. Sun crawled over to Chi-Chi and put a hand on her cheek. You didn't do anything wrong, said Spot. Then why was Moony mad at me? He wasn't mad at you. But he said I was a naughty child that should be punished. Chi-Chi whimpered. I know. He... Sun sighed and shook his head. He did nothing wrong. Is there something wrong with Mooney? Chi-Chi asked worriedly. I'm not sure. He's been acting weird, and when it was nap time, he forced his way out instead of gently taking over. He scared the kids pretty bad. I think there's something wrong with his code. Can he be fixed? I don't know, Sun sighed. Chi-Chi looked away. Is there something I can do to help? Maybe I can talk to him. Maybe he's just sad or upset. I don't think that's a very good idea, Sunspot. Sun gently tousled Chi-Chi's hair with a hand. Is he gonna be okay? Chi-Chi whimpered. Are we gonna be okay? We're gonna be fine. For now, let's get you something to eat. Then we can play a game. Sun was clearly hiding something. Chi-Chi could sense it, but it didn't seem worth arguing. So Chi-Chi just nodded and followed Sun to the kitchen. Sun made Chi-Chi a sandwich with cheese and ham. Chi-Chi chewed on it sadly. She thought maybe when it was bedtime, she could talk to Mooney. Maybe she could apologize for making him mad. Maybe it would be alright. After lunch, Chi-Chi and Sun played a game of Go Fish. Chi-Chi had learned Sun's favorite game was Uno, but he got very competitive over it when they played it with the other animatronics. But for a more somber game, they played Go Fish. Eventually, Chi-Chi got tired, and Sun took her back up to the tower. Chi-Chi had hoped Sun would let Mooney out, so she could apologize. But Sun just tucked Chi-Chi in and sat in the corner while plugged in, fiddling with his moon plush, and eventually closing his eyes to charge. He hadn't even turned off the lights, so it was very bright, and Chi-Chi had a hard time sleeping. Eventually, Chi-Chi drifted into an uneasy sleep, and dreamed of Mooney and Sun. Here they were separate animatronics, and they all played together. But suddenly, Mooney started acting strange, saying weird, dark things about children being punished. Started to chase Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi pleaded for Moon to stop, but eventually Moon caught Chi-Chi and laughed evilly about punishing Chi-Chi for being a naughty child. Chi-Chi sat up and gasped. She rubbed her eyes and looked up. The lights were still on, but Sun was gone. Chi-Chi peeked over the edge of the stage and saw Moon pacing around and around the little nap area. Please, Moon, tell me what's wrong. You've never acted like this before. You scared Chi-Chi and all the other kids, Sun said, waving his arms around. A pause. Chi-Chi is not a naughty child. She's good. Another pause. Moon, those children only had a nightmare. They weren't being bad. You could have hurt them. Chi-Chi whimpered and went downstairs to the theater and over to Sun. Sun didn't notice her until she touched him. He flinched and swung around, white eyes wide. Then saw it was just Chi-Chi and sighed. Little Sunspot, what are you doing up? He asked, rubbing his eyes. He looked like he had been crying. I had a nightmare, Chi-Chi whimpered. Oh, come here. Sun opened his arms and Chi-Chi hugged Sun. Can Mooney come out now? Chi-Chi asked. No, Sunspot, Moon said, sighing. But it's nighttime. It's Mooney's time. Chi-Chi tilted her head, confused. Mooney isn't feeling good right now, Sun said, sitting down and patting the ground for Chi-Chi to do the same. What about nap times? Chi-Chi said. It's Mooney's job. I'll have to take care of nap times until Mooney can be fixed, Sun sighed. I can help, Chi-Chi said, puffing out her chest. I'd love that, little Sunspot, as long as the noise isn't too much for you. Sun ruffled Chi-Chi's hair and she giggled. I'll be the bestest helper until Mooney feels better, Chi-Chi said, happily hugging Sun. Sun smiled sadly. Thank you. And from then on, instead of staying up at the tower, Chi-Chi would spend the days helping Sun in the daycare. The kids instantly took a liking to her, having another kid to play with who also worked in the daycare. Chi-Chi quickly made friends, even if it was a little intimidating to talk to the grown-ups. Chi-Chi, a little girl called. Chi-Chi turned around and got immediately hugged by a girl with blonde hair and glasses with different colored eyes. Hi, Willow, Chi-Chi giggled, hugging her friend. Hey, Gigi, a boy said cheerfully. Hi, Jorge, Gigi waved shyly. Sun says we get to have a field trip today. Mila bounced a little. Yeah, we get to go to Roxy's raceway. Gigi smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. She got her own little apron with a name tag that said her name on it. Under it said assistant daycare attendant. I love Roxy. She's so pretty. Willow giggled. She's a little stuck up, Jorge said, wrinkling his nose. Is Willie coming too? Chi-Chi asked. No, he wants to go with Mom to see Freddy. I swear he's obsessed with that bear, Jorge said, shaking his head. I don't blame him. Freddy's cool, Chi-Chi said, bouncing on her toes. I like Bonnie best, Jorge said, but I haven't seen him around lately. Yeah, once he's been a lot more active in the band too, Chi-Chi said. He's kind of scary. It's okay. I'll protect you from scary gators, Jorge said heroically. Willow giggled as Chi-Chi smiled. All right, little Sunrays, time for the field trip. Remember to stay close to me at all times, Sun said, leading the children out of the daycare and up to the atrium. I forget how big this place is, Jorge said, staring around a little awestruck. That's why it's so easy to get lost, Chi-Chi said, looking around. Don't worry, I'll stay close to you, Jorge said, cheeks a little pink. Hee, thank you. Chi-Chi hugged Jorge. They followed Sun down the escalator to Roxy Raceway. Now remember to be nice to the staff, Sun instructed. We will, the children all chorused. Good. Sun smiled and led them inside. Inside, Roxy was waiting, wearing her racer jacket. Hello, little wolf pups. Ready to have some fun? She asked eagerly. Yeah, the children said excitedly. All right, one child per car, the staff member said as they walked up to the starting line. I'm so excited, Willow giggled. I have to stay with Sun. I'll see you guys after, Chi-Chi said, waving to her friends, walking over to Sun, who was by Roxy, talking to her. Hey, it's the short stack, Roxy said, ruffling Chi-Chi's hair. Hi, Roxy, Chi-Chi giggled. How you been, kid? Roxy asked. Good, Chi-Chi smiled. Don't you want to go race with the other kids? Sun asked, kneeling down to Chi-Chi. No, it's a little loud in here, and the carts are all screechy, Chi-Chi said, fiddling with her apron. All right, if you're sure, Sun said. Oh, come on, pup, it'll be fun, Roxy encouraged. Chi-Chi is a little sensitive to noise, Sun explained. Ah, I see, Roxy nodded. Hey, why don't you get her a pair of headphones like the ones the construction workers wear? That's a good idea, Sun said. Chi-Chi looked up at Sun as the lights suddenly flashed and the staff announced the race was starting. It's okay, kid. It's just noise, Sun said. So Chi-Chi hugged Sun and covered her ears as the starting blare went off. Hey, how about you sit in the salon until it's over, Sun said, leading Chi-Chi over to the Roxy's salon. It's mostly just a staff chill-out spot, but not many kids wanted to get their hair done these days. Chi-Chi sat down at one of the chairs, and Sun waved goodbye and then headed back to the raceway. Hey, kid, a staff member said. Chi-Chi looked up. Hi, Chi-Chi waved. Just hanging out here until the race is done? He asked. Yeah, it's a bit loud. It's called a raceway for a reason, he chuckled. I suppose. Kinda wish I could have stayed at the daycare, but no one's there right now. Yeah, it's kind of mandatory to go to field trips. The staff member sighed. They need to get someone else to help Sun out, especially since Moon is out of whack right now. Yeah, Chi-Chi looked down at her shoes. Well, have fun. I guess I gotta get back to work, the staff member said and waved as he left. Bye, Chi-Chi waved. Chi-Chi sighed. She could hear the race. She could still hear the race, but it wasn't nearly as loud as she closed her eyes. She should have brought a book or something. Oh well. Suddenly there was a pitter-patter of tiny feet running. Chi-Chi looked up. Hello? Chi-Chi called. Is someone there? She jumped off the chair nervously. She had heard stories from the other kids that some of the other Fazbear pizzerias were haunted, but she didn't think that this specific one was. "Hello?" she called again. She walked toward where the noise had come from. "Is she gone?" a voice said. "Who?" Chi-Chi asked. "The security lady," the voice whimpered. "I think so." Chi-Chi turned a corner and saw a boy, about maybe 7 or 8, crouching behind a box of salon chairs. "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you," Chi-Chi said gently. "Oh, good," the boy said, sighing. He stood up. He was much taller than Chi-Chi. "What's a kid like you doing here anyway? I thought everybody was at the racetrack." "I don't really like noise," Chi-Chi admitted. "Ah, I see." The kid held out a hand. "I'm Gregory." "Chi-Chi." Chi-Chi took the hand and shook it. "Nice to meet you, Chi-Chi," Gregory said. He looked down at the name tag on Chi-Chi's chest. "Assistant daycare attendant? Aren't you a little young to work at the daycare?" I help Son since Moon is not feeling good." "He's creepy," Gregory observed. "He's not. He's actually very nice," Chi-Chi said. Gregory looked unconvinced. "Anyway, what are you doing here? This place is mostly for staff," Chi-Chi said. "I was hiding," Gregory said, looking around. "Hiding from what?" "That security lady is trying to get me," Gregory said. "What security lady?" Chi-Chi looked around. "She's not here right now," Gregory said. "Oh, okay." "Chi-Chi," the voice of Son called. Gregory ducked back behind the boxes. "I'm over here, Son," Chi-Chi called. "No, shh, he'll find us," Gregory said, eyes wide. "Son, he's very nice. I actually, work with him." Chi-Chi probably shouldn't admit she secretly lived with Son. The story they usually told was she lived nearby, and her parents worked at the pizza plex, so she mostly stayed in the daycare all day helping Son out. "Don't let him find me," Gregory said. Oh, there you are," Son said, walking over to Chi-Chi. "Hi, Son." Chi-Chi glanced back at the boxes, but suddenly Gregory wasn't there. Son looked to where Chi-Chi was looking. "What are you looking at, Sunspot?" Nothing. I thought I saw a spider," Chi-Chi lied. "Oh well, come on," Son said, turning back to head out of the salon. Chi-Chi glanced back at the empty spot behind the boxes. Well, that sure was weird. She followed Son out of the salon and to where all the other kids waited. "That was so much fun," Willow giggled. "Too bad you had to miss it," Jorge nodded to Chi-Chi. "You know, work stuff and all," Chi-Chi said, smiling. "Blarg," Willow said. "Boring." Son led the group of kids back to the daycare, where the kids' parents waited for pickup time. "Goodbye, sunshines, and have a fazerific day," Son said, waving to all the kids as they left. Chi-Chi was cleaning up the nap area as Son walked back over. "Hey, Son," Chi-Chi asked. "Hey, Son," Chi-Chi asked. "Yes, Sunspot?" Son looked up, smiling as he picked up one of the pillows. Is this place haunted?" Chi-Chi asked. "Why would you ask such a thing? Of course not," Son said, tilting his head. "Why do you ask?" "I thought I saw something," Chi-Chi said, shaking her head. "But it was probably just my imagination." "Oh, okay," Son said, patting Chi-Chi on the head. "Too much fizzy fazz before bed." "Yeah, probably," Chi-Chi smiled. As usual, at bedtime, Son didn't turn off the lights, but merely tucked Chi-Chi in and sat to charge. This night, Chi-Chi lay awake thinking about the boy she saw. "Don't let him find me," he had said. Why was he so scared of Son finding him? Chi-Chi thought. Chi-Chi sighed and turned over. That's all for now. Remember to stay humble and kind. Bye!